And welcome back to Hannity. Now, my next guest has launched an investigation into why President Obama has chosen to nominate this man, Dabao Adigbele, who is an ardent supporter of Black Panther and cop killer Mumia Abu-Jamal, to head the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division as an assistant attorney general. Now, he co-authored an NAACP brief opposing Jamal's death sentence, which was eventually lessened to life in prison. Earlier today, the nominee testified on Capitol Hill, and he was asked about the case. Take a look at his response.
The work involved a legal issue relating to jury issues. It was about the legal process, and it was years after the conviction had been entered by the lower court. It was on an issue of whether or not the jury had properly been instructed. But it's important, I think, to understand that in no way does that legal representation, zealously as an advocate, cast any aspersion or look past the grievous loss of Sergeant Faulkner. These are the hardest cases, but our commitment in the Constitution is to follow our procedural rules even in those hardest cases, perhaps especially in those hardest cases, so that all of our rights can be vindicated.
And beyond that controversial work, this troubled nominee also happened to be a former Sesame Street actor back in the 70s. Another wonderful example of why he's so qualified for such an important post. Here are the details of the investigation into this man. Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich. Also joining us tonight, Dr. Johanna Fernandez. She's a professor of history at Baruch College. Welcome, both of you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Katie, you broke this wide open. I have followed this case closely over the years about the death of police officer Daniel Faulkner. Tell us what your reaction to this is.
Well, President Obama has nominated Mr. Adigbele to head up as an assistant attorney general to head up the civil rights division of the Department of Justice. Now, the problem is that during his work at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, this man decided to voluntarily give his services to help get rid of the death sentence for Mr. Abu-Jamal, who has been convicted multiple times. His conviction has been held up multiple times of murdering Daniel Faulkner in 1981. And, of course, it also goes into this idea that President Obama wants him nominated because he has a very racial past and a racial history of pushing racial politics through actions inside the law. I
don't know why the left has always, maybe you can explain this, Professor, the free Mumia movement, if you will, when there was so much evidence in that case, when you go back and look at it, that he killed Officer Faulkner that night?
Well, I think it's important to say, before we go anywhere, that the European Parliament and someone that you probably venerated not long ago, Mandela, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
What does that have to do with this? What does that have to do with this?
Supported Mumia Abu-Jamal and actually argued that he did not get a fair trial. What we know for sure is that what the prosecution argued at trial, and the prosecution was led by Joseph McGill, the prosecution argued that Mumia Abu-Jamal shot the officer 4 times.
And there were witnesses.
No, hold on, but there are photographs. There are photographs that suggest that what the prosecution argued could not have happened. There were no divots on the ground as the prosecutor argued at trial happened.
All right.
Another thing is...
Let's go back to Katie.
Let's go back to the, I don't want to give Mumia, supporters a soapbox to go back into why Mumia is innocent. It's been proven over and over again in multiple courtrooms that he's not innocent. He never entered a not guilty plea. He murdered Daniel Faulkner in cold blood. He's never said he didn't do it. His brother said he never did it. There are witnesses in the emergency room that overheard him say he did shoot him and hope that he died. But back to the focus of this story, which is President Obama's nominee to head up the Civil Rights Department of the Justice Department. The Fraternal Order of Police credits this nominee with turning the justice system on its head with unfounded and unproven allegations of racism. So this goes into this whole idea of the history of him defending Abu-Jamal, and really in that case, false charges of racism were used to slander and to libel the name of this police officer while he was a dead man after he had been killed. And they're now trying to use this as a way to get this nominee into the Justice Department to carry out the racial pipe dreams of Attorney General Eric Holder and President Obama through the Justice Department.
Reaction?
Well, I think it's important to note that the person to which she's referring is Priscilla Durham, someone in the hospital who supposedly heard Mumia Abu-Jamal say that he shot Officer Faulkner.
And
in
he
fact,
died.
Anthony Coletta, the doctor who was with Mumia Abu-Jamal from the moment he entered the hospital, said there was no way he could have said anything.
That's not the point.
He could have said anything. Another thing is that Officer Wakshaw, hold on, sir. Officer
you want to retry the case?
Also said
he's been convicted.
The Negro male said
How many times was he convicted? Numerous times.
No,
yes.
Absolutely not.
Well, when you go on appeal.
Well, no, absolutely. Actually, this goes back to the.
You want to retry this case?
No, I don't want to retry the case.
No, you do.
I think it's important to say this.
But he would have gotten.
The NAACP, I think it's important to say this. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund is one of the most respected legal civil rights organizations of the United States.
Let's go back to Katie.
It was initiated by Thurgood Marshall, right? The person who argued the Brown versus Board of Education decision.
You're going off on tangents.
No, this is not a tangent.
The point of the subject.
Katie, one at a time. Katie.
The point of this segment and the point of this story is not, again, to rehash this case. We know that Abu Jamal is guilty. It's been proven and held up in convictions in multiple courtrooms over the past 30 years. The fact is now that we have a president who has nominated a cop killer advocate to head up the Civil Rights Department in the Department of Justice, and that is something that should be taken very seriously.
As if it wasn't as radical with just Eric Holder there. All right, we're going to continue to follow. I'm out of time, but we'd love to have you come back, and any time in the future, we'd love to have you back.
Thank you.
Thank you.